friends, I'm Erin, and this is Erin Go Live. It is Tag Tuesday, and this is the mid-year book freakout tag. It's so hard to believe we are midway through the year. Probably everybody who does this tag has said the same thing, but here we are. It is not only the middle of the year, it is the middle of June, and it is time to freak out a little bit about where we are in the year, how our reading has gone. So in general, I wanted to take this chance to just kind of look at my story graph, update my story graph, which I have not been good at all at keeping up to date. So it is very possible that I have actually missed some books here and there. I had to go through my Hoopla, my Libby, my Audible. I went through, the physical books that I have. I went back and looked at some old videos just to see, did I miss anything? Definitely found some stuff that I'd forgotten about, especially library books. So at this point, I am exactly at 26 books. So, one book a week so far has been my average, which really would be what I would kind of be aiming for. I have my goal set at 52 books a year. If I don't hit that, I'm not sad about it. I'm not going to go read a bunch of short books in order to make that happen, to achieve that goal or to surpass that goal, anything like that. But I just thought it was interesting. It feels like it's been more than 26 books, but when I look at it, it's yeah, I think that's about right. So possibly, like I said, that I missed a couple here and there, but feeling pretty good about that number. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the mid-year book freakout tag prompts. And we're starting off with a bang, best book of the year so far in 2023. So I'm kind of going to cheat a little bit. I have two answers. The best book I've finished so far has been Middlemarch by George Eliot. But I think by the time I finish it, I'm going to sneeze. But I think by the time I finish it, I'm about 80% through. I think East of Eden by John Steinbeck actually will take the cake and will be truly my number one book so far in 2023. The best sequel I've read this year is the only sequel I've read yet this year, and that is Amari and the Great Game by Bibi Alston. This is book 2 in the, what's the name of this series? I don't know, the Amari series. Book 2, more continuation of Amari in this magical world and adventure and trying to save her brother, save the world, save magic kind, all of that kind of stuff. Just really fun. Before I read this, I did listened to for the first time the audiobook of Amari and the Night Brothers just to get myself back into the world, which was a fun way to go into reading this book. Number 3 is a new release that I haven't gotten to yet, but I want to. I have 2 for that. I just picked up Yellowface by RF Kuang. I had I had a gift card for Barnes & Noble, burning a hole in my pocket, and I decided Yellowface was the one. Just keep hearing big things about it. I haven't read Babel. I've read the first 2 books in the Poppy War series. I still need to read The Burning God, but I've loved the Poppy War, and just the premise of Yellowface sounds really good to me. Reminds me quite a lot of The Plot, which I read last year and really liked. Then also I have Curtis Sittenfeld's romantic comedy. This cover is a bit over the top for me, very, very pink. This is my sister's favorite author, and this was my book of the month choice for last month, I think it was. And I've never read any Curtis Sittenfeld, but it feels like a really good summer book. So I'm actually really looking forward to when I finish the giant chunkers that I'm reading right now. Just kind of hopefully just blazing through this is kind of what I'm anticipating. Same thing with Yellowface. They both feel like good summer reads. My most anticipated release for the second half of the year is Emma Donahue's new book, Learned by Heart, and I believe this comes out late in August. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that, and it's really the only major book that I know of that's coming out in the second half of the year that I'm particularly looking forward to. My biggest disappointment of the year, it wasn't like a terrible disappointment or anything like that, but I just think it was based on the hype, it just didn't fully land for me, and that's She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I love this cover so much too. And it's like a historical, very much historical, very little fantasy, which is fine. There was a lot more war for me, and not just war, but the political machinations that go along with the war. It was a little bit too much for me. I really enjoyed more of the dialogue, the interpersonal relationship kind of stuff for me was what landed, and they're just a little bit too much of the kind of inside baseball side of it. But I love this cover so much, and that little sun and the silhouette there. I love, and just like the lineup here, like I love the cover so much. I love, and I really, really wanted to love this book. It was still a really good book. You know, I would probably say like 3.5 stars. I don't really do star ratings anymore, but I would probably put it in like the 3.5 star ranking for me. But I would be interested in more that she has to write. The biggest surprise for me, the book I've brought up already, and that is Middlemarch. And this is the biggest surprise because one, not only is it a classic, but also I had a false start with this. I started listening to this on audiobook, got through the first kind of section of it, was really, you know, into the story. And then our characters switched. Like we moved from one family to another family. And I'm listening to it on audiobook. I was on this long road trip and I just like wasn't following. All of a sudden I realized like, who are we talking about? And I had a really hard time trying to get back into it. And so I kind of ended up restarting the book, reading it physically. And then I went back and forth between the audiobook and the physical book. Once I kind of reintegrated myself into it, kind of after that second start, it really came into its own, and I came to adore the characters and the storyline. And this was a book club book too, and so we ended up having such a great conversation. And I think that the fact that it was a book club book in the experience of the book club discussion kind of heightened the overall experience of it. But this is one that as I was reading it, and especially as we were talking about it at book club, I was already thinking, I can't wait to reread this. My favorite new author, I would say, is C.C. Harrington, who wrote Wild Oak. This is a middle grade book that I read. It was just, first of all, how gorgeous is this cover? It was just a really sweet book about a young girl who stutters, and she gets sent off to go live with her grandfather, who lives outside of this wood. The woods, it turns out, is going to be like turned over to a developer soon. But Maggie had just made a friend, and this snow leopard lives in the wood, and so it's kind of a combination of a look at like deforestation and loss of natural habitats for wild animals, as well as her own personal struggle with her stutter and accepting who she is. And it was just fantastic. I just really enjoyed being in the book, and I can't get over that cover. Newest fictional crush. I'm going to sidestep this one a little bit, and instead of fictional crush, I'm going to go with a nonfiction choice and go with Dave Grohl. I read his book Storyteller, and huge Dave Grohl fan. If you've never seen Sonic Highways on HBO, highly recommend it. It's a docuseries about Foo Fighters creating the album called Sonic Highways, and it's just like a music appreciation. It's like an American music appreciation class. Dave Grohl, I listened to the audiobook. Dave Grohl narrates it himself. So fantastic. He just seems like if they're, the answer to the question, if you could, have lunch with, any celebrity living or dead, who would it be? Like Dave Grohl would be my answer. Newest favorite character. And I'm going to go with Tova from Remarkably Bright Creatures. I'll put a picture here because I listened to the audiobook of this. This is the last book that I just finished. I listened to this on audiobook. And Tova is I believe 70-year-old woman who is like the overnight kind of custodian for an aquarium. And she's just spry and spunky and very maternal, and she ends up developing this relationship with Marcellus in an octopus, and she just the book and her in particular as a character were very much reminded me of Frederick Bachman, and so I really want to keep my eye out for the next thing by, is it Shelby Van Pelt, I think is the name of that author. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for what she has coming out next. Oh, I skipped a book that made me cry because I couldn't think of a book that made me cry this year. I don't know that one has. The most beautiful book that I've bought or received this year, I have a very, very specific color palette really that I'm going with here. So one, we have Wild Oak, which I already showed you. I love like blues and greens together, and green in general is my favorite color. And so we have In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I just love the green and the trees and Don't so much love the sticker that I haven't tried taking off yet, or there's 2 stickers on this one. I don't love that, but I love all of these TJ Klune covers, and then for this one in particular in the greens just does it for me. And then the final question is, what book do you need to read by the end of the year? And this question just always gets me because I'm a grown-up. I don't need to do anything. I could do what I want. I'm not a professional book reviewer. I'm not a professional book reader, so I don't have to read anything. I get to read, and the only kind of obligatory books that I have, and I still have choice in this, is just my book club books. So right now I'm doing a buddy read of East of Eden, so I need to finish that. My nonfiction book club is reading Man's Search for Meaning, that our meeting is next week. Every month I'm going to have 2 book club books that I need to be reading. So I don't know what those are at this point. So I just need to read what works for me. That's my answer to that question. Thank you for watching. If you've done this tag, let me know down in the comments so I can watch your video, or share with me what your favorite book of the year so far is, or a book that you're really looking forward to reading this year, either that you just haven't got to yet, or one that's coming out later in the year. I'd love to know. Thank you for watching. Remember, every day is a great day for a great day, all day.